Hey guys,
So-
we got a full team here.
Yes, we do. So if you'd like, we've recently hit 1 million followers on Facebook. And
Congratulations.
we ran like a small AMA kind of thing where we asked people to drop in questions for you. And
Okay.
we got like a whole bunch, so we shortlisted a few,
Okay.
which we'd love to ask you. So to start with, what does your usual day at work look like?
It does not look like this. People are taking videos of me. I'm going to close this door
Yeah.
for just 1 minute. Okay. All right. So usual day at work. See, usually I start. I might start at 8 if I have a breakfast meeting, which I do maybe 2 days, 3 days a week, or I will start at 9:30. Right? If I don't have a breakfast meeting. And typically I end my days around 6:30, maximum 7. I do not work late at all. So and usually during the day I just have a bunch of meetings, and I did an analysis recently, or my secretary Amrita did an analysis for me for the last 6 months, and she showed me that the amount of time I had spent, whatever, 2,000 hours of the last 2,000 hours that I have spent at work. 70% of my time is in internal meetings, and 30% is with external meetings. And by external, it could mean investors, it could mean consultants, vendors, stuff like that. That's about 30% of my time, and 70% is business, internally oriented. That's what I do.
Interesting. So we've been sort of watching you work from a bit of a distance for the past sort of time that we've been together here at Piramal Finance.
Yeah.
And it's insane seeing you manage everything. Do you have a person like that who you really looked up to in your career? Might be within your career, outside from the entire world. Is there someone who you consider an inspiration?
Yeah, there are lots of people actually. There are lots of people who have been inspirations in different things they do, which I have found really powerful. One of my of the bosses, etc., that I have worked with, Mr. K.V. Kamath, super inspirational in terms of big bold visions of the future. Shikhar Sharma, one of my earliest bosses, and has been my mentor most of my life, was very powerful in terms of delegating and empowering people to make to do things their own way, make their own mistakes, and being comfortable with them making mistakes. And very powerful there. And if I look at contemporary leaders and people who are doing very interesting things. I love what Rajiv Jain does at Bajaj. He inspires me a lot in terms of his ability to execute, and kind of energy he brings into execution and discipline he brings in is spectacular. So lots of people out there that I admire a lot.
And having said that, I'm sure this role also comes with its own sort of set of challenges. So as a leader, what kind of challenges do you come across on a daily basis?
See, there are business challenges which are pretty straightforward. Like you want to do something, it's not working, or you tried something and it flopped, right? Or you thought a particular strategy makes sense, but turns out it loses money, or it has no popularity in the market at all, or whatever it is. Like those kinds of challenges, there are lots of them. Like, because you have lots of strategies at any given point in time. But those are, I take them as feedback. Like you try something, the market knows what's right, what's wrong. The market tells you. So you got to listen, and you got to change what you're doing, and then you listen again, and then you keep doing it till you find the right fit, right? And that works. So those kinds of challenges, there are like dime a dozen. There are lots of them that happen. But as you get a little bit more senior in the company, it is common to also have a lot of people-related challenges, meaning, somebody is not the best fit for a particular job, or you feel something is off in a team because you feel like you have the right talent, but the output's not coming, and you feel like, what am I missing? Like, there is something, some undercurrent somewhere that's not working right. So, understanding organizational dynamics to figure out what's working in which team and what's not working, and what needs to be tweaked to uncross the wires. That to me is one of the most powerful things I can do as a leader, is uncross wires, between different departments, different people, etc. in the company. And those are places which are also most emotionally wrought. So it's a lot of people get sentimental about it. If you try to solve some of those situations, etc. So those tend to be the more challenging parts of the day. Oh, sorry, there's a third category as well. I should probably mention, which is stakeholder management, right? Which is a big part of your job as well as you grow senior, and there could be more and more stakeholders and more external stakeholders. So knowing at all points in time where different stakeholders are, kind of emotionally, and what you want to do or need to do to do anxiety management, for them, or to position the business in a particular way in front of people who can really determine the fate of the company, depending on how they feel, etc. That tends to be a unique set of challenges as well.
Yeah. You mentioned managing people. Within Piramal Finance, we managed to establish a sort of culture of having multiple leaders in different positions throughout the organization.
Yeah.
So for people who are going into that leadership position maybe for the first time or in a new role, what kind of advice would you give them? What should be like their first thing to do?
See, leaders are not aggregators. That's kind of a general principal point that I would make. Or leaders are not merely aggregators. Well, one of the things that happens quite often is that a leader says, I have a team of 5 people, the 5 people produced this much output, so my output is A plus B plus C plus D plus E. Right? So essentially that's a leader just acting as an aggregator, right? You're just taking the A to E and then adding it up. The job of a leader is to find ways to actually make the sum or the whole greater than the sum of the parts, right? So you got to find ways to help everybody do bring their best game to work, and to create a functional team as opposed to a dysfunctional team. A functional team where everybody is building on each other's success and is able to create a company where everybody celebrates when somebody does well, right? That tends to be the hardest part for people who become first-time leaders. They tend to be very functional in the way they tend to think about the job. My job is to hire for slots that are open. My job is to give this guy his target or to give him XYZ training or whatever it is. All those things are necessary. Those functional things are necessary, but that's never going to make you a leader, right? And you got to go beyond that, and you got to understand what makes individual people tick and what makes the team tick, and they may not be the same things, right? So how do you influence people so that they can be individually brilliant, but the team can collectively be great, right? That tends to be sort of a big challenge, which tends to be complex for new managers or first-time leaders, and that's something that we try to do a lot by kind of just talking about our philosophies of leadership a lot, and hopefully that gets us to a better place on some of those outcomes.
Sure. Amrita just told us your next meeting is starting soon. Can we walk you to your next stop?
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
So Amrita's the boss of my time. She tells me where to go and when.
So we come from being part of the marketing team, come from a creative field.
Yeah.
What would you say would be the best way to keep creative thinking in your organization? Because it's needed in different parts, not just in marketing.
Yeah. I think I think being creative means being able to actually respond in different ways to situations, and being agile with your responses, so that you can actually find the best way to peel the onion, right? And so it's not just about like making pretty videos or great creatives, which is which is super hard and better you guys than me to do that stuff. But it is required in every other part of the business as well. We want our business leaders to be creative. We want the credit guys to be creative thinkers and so on. And so it is super important. Now, how do we achieve that? We achieve that, I think, first of all, by freeing up people's minds, right? A person who is too busy thinking about whether they have a role in the team tomorrow or not, or whether they are being judged every time they come to the crease, they cannot play that as game, right? So the first thing that you need to do, or that I try to do, to get the best out of people and get their creative juices flowing, is to free them up, to essentially give them confidence to say it doesn't matter whether you're successful or not, but you're a part of the team and kind of you have this particular role to play, and sometimes it might not work out, right? So free people up, enable the right toolkits, that they need to do their jobs, and celebrate small failures. Essentially, like stuff goes wrong all the time, and it goes wrong because of a variety of reasons. It's least often because somebody messed up. Most often it's because something went wrong in what you do. If you see that poster out there's a little poster that we have on the wall there. It says "Ask why, not who." Right? It's a big part of our philosophy of what we believe in, or it's one of my core belief systems, which is that when something goes wrong, which inevitably it will in business, ask why, not who. As in, ask why things went wrong, not who's responsible for this thing going wrong, right? If you build a culture where you're not asking who's responsible for what went wrong, but instead you're focusing on the process and trying to understand the root causes and the why, you will encourage everybody to take chances and take risks. And fundamentally, creativity is all about people having the confidence to take chances. And if they do, they'll be creative.
When nearing 2 years on the merger, when we did the amalgamation of the two companies, did you notice some sort of culture gap in what you had envisioned for the company, and how did you bridge it if it was there?
Yes. See, any two companies are different, right? And you always have to bid something. I wouldn't overstate this. I think yes, it is important in mergers. People often underestimate it. Underestimate how complex culture integration can be, etc. But I would also say that it's also easy to overestimate it. It's easy to overthink it, right? And you try to be too cute with it and create too many processes that can also go wrong. You kids are too young to probably be married, but when you marry somebody, two families come together, right? And the families inevitably have different cultures and different ways of actually doing things, right? As long as there is good understanding between each other, and there is faith in a collective common goal, you can bridge all of those gaps, right? So being authentic is really important. Being open and transparent is really important, and sort of being genuine about laying down the expectations and openly listening to the concerns that the other party might have is really important. But beyond that, you can complicate things too much by having too many formal structures and review mechanisms and groups and FGDs and all this stuff. You don't need all that. Like, as long as you do the basics right, cultures will integrate, because at the end of the day, people want to work in well-functioning companies. So it's not more complicated than that.
So speaking of the merger, we also decided to consciously target going to the Bharat consumer.
Yes.
So whether it is your small kirana stores or your vendors or things like that. So
Yeah.
someone was very curious as to why Bharat.
Why Bharat? See, the India market is heavily competed. Like it's not like there is no opportunity in India. There are lots of opportunities in India too. It's just not for us. There are many people who have made fantastic businesses in the urban markets of India, and I'm sure many more will, even in the future. However, from our perspective, as an NBFC, a company which wants to serve customers at a particular rate of interest, so that it makes sense for us from an economic standpoint, etc. We need to pursue opportunities which are large in size, which are growing, and where we can serve customers profitably. And as it happens, the India market is way too saturated for us to be able to do the same there. But the Bharat markets, the small town India market, tier 2, tier 3 cities, etc., there are a lot of opportunities, and I really feel that in spite of the fact that there are a lot of companies like us that are trying to serve this market, it continues to remain underserved. I think it is very fair to say that consumer credit demand in India continues to be significantly higher than supply. So we are part of the supply, but demand is still so high in these markets that many more like us can come, and still there'll be room for all of us.